That's a new sound.
Yeah. Well, welcome to the Mattacheese Utilization Committee monthly meeting of February 12th, 2026. Where did my notes go? We are listed in the Town of Yarmouth's website, and we are Zooming this meeting as well as recording this meeting. I think that's all I have to say. And I'm going to take roll call. And I will start with John.
Here.
Andrew.
Present.
Lindsay.
I'm here.
Oh dear. You don't, are you, hopefully you're feeling a little better.
Thanks. I am here.
Right. Casey.
Here.
And Barbara. Not present. And I did get a call from Joe Potska, who will be Zooming when he gets home after refereeing 2 games in Chatham. So we will hear from him. And if we need to ask him anything when he comes, we'll be happy to do that. I am calling the meeting to order. I've had a successful roll call and we are a quorum. I'll ask for a public comment. And I'm also going to mention that we have Megan here through Zoom, Kathy Williams here, and Amy here. And I know better than to try.
That's okay.
I think I'm getting better because
You should pronounce it so that we. I was just going to say it's Frigiletti.
Frigiletti. It's almost like with a CH. Yes, Fridge.
It's like refrigerator.
Yeah.
Frigiletti.
Frigiletti. Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to follow the agenda out of order. We're going to do number 5 first, because as we did after the November one, I would just love to get your feedback about the February 3rd select board meeting and the review and discussion about the select board participants. I did write a sort of a review of what was said, and included that. And I also want to say that Heather did one too, and that was included as well. So, would anybody like to go first in terms of what you all thought, or overview, or anything you want to say about the meeting? I want to apologize for at some point saying to everybody acres instead of miles. So in other words, exit 7 was really less than 2 miles away, and the Cape Cod Hospital was less than 3 miles away. Nothing to do with acreage. So does anybody want to say anything about what they thought about the February 3rd select board presentation that was handled very nicely by Heather in terms of the 5 plans as Mark Forrest kept referring it to? Oh, someone be brave.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
You know, I don't know. I felt like we didn't get a ton of answers from the select board. You know, I thought on one hand, Mark Forrest saying like, just go to the public with all 5. We don't need to get down to 3. And then Tracy was like, well, the only really option is B because it has the school. So I didn't walk away that night feeling like we really got, at least I didn't get the answers from the select board that I thought we were going to get. So maybe my assumptions were wrong. But I do think it, maybe leads to conversation of like, how many are we going to take to the public? I think as much as I might personally disagree with it, certainly there was a lot of comments about the solar. I do think, one option for the solar might be option B instead of C, which whatever C1 it is, because it's with the school. I personally don't think it's feasible if the school's not there to tell a private developer he's got to keep a solar system. I do not think that's a reasonable request. Just my opinion. I do think it's a reasonable request to ask that we have some type of energy saving solution on the property. But then it really, to me, it becomes the private developer's choice, how they go about that. But yeah, so I don't know that I walked away not really getting answers.
Okay. Who's next? Andrew? Come on, Andrew.
I read through this because I wasn't in attendance. And a couple questions. Again, I agree with the solar. That should be on the table for a developer. That's not something we shouldn't constrain the project with. One question I had was, do we know the actual usable acreage? Because Dorcas brought up, it's a big parcel, 70 acres, but I think it's probably much smaller when you carve out all those other parts, which then puts it in more in perspective of how big that site is.
Well, I think that's a debatable item. And, just because some groups don't want you to take any trees down, if there are big machines that are needed to take down the buildings and then need to rub out a few trees, they're going to do that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really a kind of a debatable thing. And nothing is required of those, quote, critical areas that were in orange. I don't know if you remember the color. But so I'm not sure, and I think the next phase is going to straighten that out maybe or not. Okay. I don't know. And one of the plans actually used part of the critical to put something there. So they recognize too that it's not a requirement. It's sort of an ask, please don't. And there may be some
clarify that a little bit.
Yeah.
There are some regulatory areas in that orange slashed area, but the areas that we're talking about impacting were part of those non-regulatory biomaps, where there were just something that people were like, oh, this might be a good area, around another resource area to protect. And that's where we were going into those a little bit with one of the options. But then we're saying, well, let's do some better restoration over here, which is closer to the resource area that you want to protect. Okay. So it might actually be better. So there's some regulatory that absolutely have to be addressed, but then there's some of those biomaps where it was like Sharon was saying, it was an ask of the open space conservation area. If you could stay out of that, they would like that. Again, we're staying out of it significantly. And then we're also proposing some restoration.
The vernal pool is out.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And the buffer around the vernal pool
is
out. That's not disturbed now.
1,000-foot setbacks from all the wells.
So a little corner.
Yeah. Correct.
What other? I guess that's really pretty much it.
Those are pretty much it.
So what does that bring that site down to? It's kind of my question. Is it 50 acres? I mean, when you hear 70, if I'm a developer, I hear 70 acres. I want to find out how much is.
Well, they wouldn't necessarily get 70 acres. So, and that's what we also talked about was how important the land is. And we haven't gotten there yet. We are all going to take a final vote.
Areas and the others are this is the more restricted area that we're trying to protect, and there's a buffer around it again down here.
Yeah.
Which we don't really know about.
Right. One of the things that would be done during the mass development phase is to actually take a look and delineate all of those wetland resources and then survey them in. Jeff has his hand raised and might have something further to offer on that.
Hi, Jeff.
Thank
you for coming.
Sure. We can get a number if you look at our constraints map that we did.
Would you hold on one sec? Volume wise, is your volume high or?
Yeah, we can hear everything.
It's because it's coming through Kathy's computer.
But why is that happening?
Okay.
Try now,
Jeff.
Is this any better?
No, it seems like we could hear other people, but just talk loud. I have mine's actually turned off.
Okay. I'll get a little closer.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Okay. We could certainly calculate, generate an area that is outside of those restricted or regulatory areas. And then again, it's the light blue, which is the habitat areas, whether you want to include those or not. But maybe if we take our constraints map that had the yellows, the greens, the blues, and
Right.
maybe we just calculate what is not colored on that map just for a reference point, but indicate that it's, all those lines haven't been confirmed yet until we do a site survey and delineation.
Yeah, they haven't had an engineer there yet, right?
Right.
So an engineer is going to be part of this next process, right?
Yeah. This is more of a desktop analysis, and then
So
they're going to
you
do
really-
the more on the ground field work.
You're going to have to wait till they finish 6 and 7 to really have an accurate understanding, I think. But it's a good question. Yeah.
That's pretty much all I have. No, I don't know if we need 5 alternatives, but
Okay. And Casey, how about you, Casey?
Yeah, so I did not attend or listen to the February 3rd meeting. I wish I did. Looking through these notes, my impression is our job did not get any easier. It's echoing John's comment. Yeah, the solar discussion a little bit out of left field. It's not necessarily a discussion that has been had in depth at that level up to this point. There seem to be kind of some shifting goalposts of priorities among the selectmen, and that obviously makes it a little bit more complicated. So, for example, Tracy, really in the last select board meeting talking about go big or go home on the sports complex is now more into the alternate B, which really is like the perfect Goldilocks solution, right? It kind of balances all equities and it's just kind of a nice, catering to all equities. However, that may not be the best option in terms of, will that Goldilocks option actually support the economic development that is desired? Is it actually going to support the amount of housing is desired? Will the school actually be, is it going to fit for the school? So I think that's kind of a question we can debate. But yeah, I find it a little bit harder to kind of zero in on the options at this stage. And we're almost kind of forced with this alternate B Goldilocks solution as being kind of the leading thing, given that there isn't that clarity yet from the select board. Maybe we'll get more guidance from the public, but obviously it is ultimately up to the select board and them choosing the option. But yeah, I was maybe a little disappointed is kind of my reaction. I was really hoping that we'd be kind of home stretch zeroing on stuff, very clear guidance to the public in our next meeting. But yeah, it's a little clear as mud right now.
Thank you, Casey.
I couldn't agree more. I thought the same thing when I watched it. I was like, I thought that it maybe just made things even more confusing about like what the goal or objective of our committee is and what we're expected to do and provide and where the process is to unfold from here. It almost felt like the parameters of this committee is to collect input from knowledgeable parties and understand what the public is interested in and present that in option format to the select board so that they could then provide guidance about where we might proceed to then take it to the final stretch and get the public vote for, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I guess I just kind of thought where I was like, wait, I don't think I understand what the expectations were of this committee and where we are. Yeah, I think I was very confused. And I will also just point back to the timing of all of this is a no-win situation because until and unless something is known about the school, like we were tasked with expediting this process. But then also the the MSBA process doesn't align, and it almost makes it so we are going to hurry up and wait because we could put all of this effort and energy and insight and data together and it will all be for naught. So I actually like went back and reread some of the objectives of this committee getting put together, what our expectations were, what the tasks that we were presented with, and I don't really I feel like we've done our part, but now I think it's yeah, I don't know.
Finding the right word, and you're very good at finding and writing, by the way.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, that was very helpful. But yeah, I don't know. I think it doesn't put us, I think we're where we were at the last meeting that I missed. But anyways.
Right. Well, thank you for all your input. I guess it's been a difficult chore because of a couple things, and everybody sort of mentioned them. First of all, the next phases, we were tasked with 7 phases, but that changed in March of 25 to 5, which is okay by me. And so with that change, we had something different before us. But up till that point, we were kind of interested in terms of the interior of the building too, whenever we had conversations. In other words, we didn't talk about this at this past meeting because it was more of a Heather presentation of the plans, and that's okay too. Here are the facts in terms of it is a kind of a very hard take to try to make a decision based on the school feasibility study is going to last 914 days after they hire really the designer. It's they're going to hire 2 positions, but after the designer, then they'll start talking. And I think that 914 days starts at that point. I'm not positive about that, but maybe, John, do you know for sure? Or
I
don't. Yeah.
know.
But anyway, when you think of 914 days, we're talking a few years, right? So
is that for site selection though?
Right.
It's 900 days for them to pick a site.
I think so.
It was the full feasibility study. Now, where you might pick a site, because once you pick a site, I'm assuming you would be doing some conceptual designs and all that kind of stuff as
Right.
part of that feasibility study.
Right. So you're talking a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now left with, which is what Bill gave us, was 3. We were supposed to provide 3 plans. I'd like to still do that, but I'd also like to have a conversation for something that was talked about, that of the change of conversation. And I think sometimes, Tracy, this is my take from being there, talked about the plan B provided some of what we were telling them, which was, they already know the feasibility, 914 days, right? They also know that 6 and 7 is going to be 18 months because they heard that as well. So for her, that was simple. How we first proceed is we're going to assume there's going to be a school. But if it isn't, it has the option of coming out and not being rezoned for anything up until then. Or it could be something else that comes up 3 years from now, because that's our dilemma. So, but I don't think we're a waste. Kathy has been kind to say, look, we finally figured out that we're going to take down all the buildings. That's another thing that has to be done in this 18 months or this, whatever period of time. And that solar field is going to be there with the school. That's the reality. And until the school either gets decided on it's there, which is making Liz happy because it's providing $175,000, while you're there. So I'm not so upset by it. It's just our reality now has changed. And it was always difficult because the school was there. But you can't not say you can't have 6 to 8 acres of land to a very important part of our town, which is taking care of our kids. And we all decided that too, sort of unanimously. I don't think there was any, buddy, saying that's wrong. So my plan is still listen to the survey, listen to what the select board did say, that was impactful, but still provide 3 plans. However, I might rename them. Instead of being alternative 1, alternative 2, alternative 3, at some point, maybe we could talk about allowing that this is, planned for the first 3 years because they're doing 18 more months, just like we did 18 months by the time we're finished. So it's going to take a little while, but you need to also kind of sell the interest of this. So we need to keep talking of it and positively. And it's just hard because you'd like to have one definitive plan, and it isn't necessarily going to happen for a while. And that's our reality. So, and they're going to do a lot of great things in 6 and 7 to find out, because that was the one thing that bothered me a great deal about it, was that I feel like they're not really sure that a sports facility is going to pay for itself. I get that. So, but that's what they need to find out. And hopefully it will be the case. It may not be 1,200 square feet anymore. It may be, something less. But it may mesh what some of the community wants in terms of gyms and, whatever is needed, which also could be volleyball and, all those things with different markings. And the other thing that we didn't talk about with them there, but we will finally, when we vote on what we want to recommend for the 3 plans, will be that part of this is also for events. So it's another part of what we are going to suggest or talk about to take a vote, is if you put the gyms in the middle, you can take the basketball nets down, you can have an event center. So there's another source of income for the sports facility that we really haven't talked about. But again, 6 and 7 are going to figure that out. Maybe you can have antique weekend, and, that might draw some people into hotels or motels. That's the other thing. So there's lots of things that are going on, and it's not going to happen. Then you also have to, and I would imagine this would come, I'm just thinking out loud, so I hope you don't mind my doing this, but I don't want you to be depressed about that something's not going to happen eventually that will be based on some of the work we've done. So eventually, maybe in the next town meeting, there'll be an answer for the amount of money needed to take hazardous waste out of the buildings, which is you have to do this before you take down the buildings. It's the law. So, and then maybe there'll be a price for the taking down of the buildings. And all those things can be happening in these 1, 2, 3 years that it's taking for the school. So it's not, and they're going to have to test and bore the lot and make sure everything's good underneath. There's lots of things they're going to be doing. So do not get depressed. I'm shooting for us to make 3 plans and vote on it, and it'll be our final vote. And then we all can walk away from this, and the administration will be doing. And we've done a good job. And I would probably say that the process that was selected was interesting. I was looking forward to it all. I don't think the process is and can be so definitive. That's why I'm kind of leaning towards. Well, we'll let that be another discussion, but I shouldn't say anything more about that. But it's possible that there's certain areas that, as Tracy pointed out, that aren't going to be known for a while, and they could be something else 3 years from now, which they're going to decide anyway if something great comes along. I don't know how you all feel. Do you feel better now? No. Do you have any comments?
No, I mean, I think I agree with you. I think we need to move forward with the 3 plans, right? I think I don't think the timeline is even known.
Right.
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 I think I would say, looking back, and it's easy to Monday morning quarterback, right? But I would say I think this process would have been better if we had started at a later date, or maybe not even have started at this point, to be honest. There's just so much unknown with the school, and if it's going to be torn down completely, redone, I mean, that's a big conversation for the town to have. Like, what do you do with the school if you're going to remodel it? Like, where do those kids go, right? So this is like years and years and years and years in the making, in my opinion. So yeah, I think we go with 3. I think 5 is too many for the public. I really do. I don't think there's enough of a distinction between a few of them to really go.
Well, I think they describe it in a different way. They say it's 3 plans with different little extras, and but that's okay. I think we need to consider renaming them, because this is what's going to happen or not of what we know now. That's all. We're going to vote for that finally, what we know now, taking into consideration the board's comments and the public's. And we already know some of that will be difficult. But the next part is, that was it for 5. I'd like to do the February 25th, because that's really an important part of our meeting tonight, is the February 25th. And Jeff, I'm hoping that you might have help with us as we go through that. But
yes,
I'd like to, when Kathy and I were talking about setting up the agenda, I wanted to know what this is going to look like, because all I remember are easels with the at local planning, pictures of people walking around, easels with the poster boards with, in our case, it's going to be 5 plans. So, but Kathy also mentioned, well, there are other things we could do. And part of that might be having an actual presentation, which you got in your thing, your packet, but it hasn't been totally reviewed.
Yeah. I think that it's going back a little ways, because I think people that are going to be coming to the February 25th meeting may have not know anything about this. So we need to give a little bit of a history lesson, but do it as concisely as possible. I think I might change some of the formatting with regard to how it's laid out and how you want to tell your story of how we looked at the site. These are the constraints of the site. We looked at the building. This is what we found with the building. And then we had all this input we got from the land use teams, got all this input from the survey, all this input from the community meeting. And that's how we came up with the diagrams and concept plans, so that people understand that we didn't just make this up. It came out of this very detailed process that you guys have been suffering through for the last year and a half, and get there. So I think that's something that we can work out before the meeting, but we wanted to get some ideas, on a piece of paper for you guys to take a look at.
And we might as well bump into the other, is that anything about publicity and the invitation mailing. So does anybody have any thoughts? Does that sound good to everybody in terms of having some
Can we talk a little bit more about the format of the meeting before we go into presentation?
Sure.
I don't know whether Jeff had anything like with you, whether you and Heather had kind of talked and brainstormed a little bit about how the meeting would be. Typically, we want to be sure that we have like some boards up that show the constraints on the site and then the 5 different options. Sometimes you can have those on easels or sometimes you can have those on tables. So after you give the presentation, have a answer and comment period, then people could go with us standing around and they can ask specific questions. They could have comment cards that they could be providing, as well as having stickers that they could put like little notes on and identify what some of their concerns are. So I don't know whether you and Heather had talked about anything else, Jeff?
What we talked about was making the presentation, which you all have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that was in your packet. And then towards the end, it talks about a public comment period where there'd be rules of engagement, but people would be allowed to come forward and provide a comment that would be part of the recorded meeting. And then we can certainly have boards up around the room and have more informal discussion if you want after that. But the thought was run it more as a presentation, public comment period, one on one, one at a time coming up. So everybody's hearing the same thing at the same time. But certainly people like to mill around after the meetings and we could have boards up and take comments then. It's just I'm at one board hearing one thing, and Kathy, you're in another, and Sharon, you're in another, and not everybody's hearing those same comments at the same time. That's where we thought the more formatted comment period would be beneficial because everybody could hear everything at the same time.
You absolutely have to have that because it's recorded and it will also allow people to watch the video later. But typically afterwards, people can be a little less formal. They can maybe provide their comments a little bit differently and just allowing them to be able to do that afterwards for people who came in person.
Yes.
Would people be able to walk first before the presentation starts to see the board so that when you say you are going to have public comment, they've at least seen the plans, not necessarily written down? So, I mean, I don't know how that works. So
yeah, we can certainly have
having a discussion about that would probably be helpful.
We can certainly have them up in the room so as people come in, they can see them. And obviously the presentation is going to explain them in detail. If you put them up ahead of time, what we found, and it can work either way. There's not a right way and a wrong way. If you put them ahead of time, sometimes people make assumptions before they hear the explanation of why certain things are shown the way they are. So we may want to present them first and then have the boards up later.
How's everybody feel about that? Casey, I'll start with you. Any comments about that?
No, it sounds straightforward and good to me.
Lindsay?
I defer to the experts and I'm fine with whatever is suggested.
Okay. Andrew?
My gut says I'd like to see the boards up, but have the explanation really explained before comments.
John?
Yeah, I'm with Andrew on that.
Okay. And could public comment be waited until afterwards? No, that's probably not a good thing.
Well, typically what happens is people will walk in, there'll be some boards, they might mill around, but then they sit down, they get their presentation, and then they can have public question and answer period that everybody sees. And then the idea was afterwards, if people still had some things that they wanted to talk about, or there's a lot of people who aren't comfortable with public speaking and don't want to be on camera, maybe they can provide their comments afterwards in a less formal setting. So I think
so we're all then in agreement the way that would roll. The question would be for those people that want to make comments not on camera, are we doing sticky notes as you talk about, or are we doing papers down on the table so everybody can make comments about a particular alternative? Or
I don't know. I've typically, Jeff, maybe you have something to offer. The Post-it notes seem to work. And then for people who actually like little postcards, people can put their comments on it and then leave them at the table, or we can put them in a box and that type of thing. And then people can always, maybe we should advertise in the presentation that they can always put comments to the email address that we have set up for the muck as well.
Yeah.
I like the post-it notes and the note cards, as you said. I like having the plans up on an easel so more people can see them versus everybody crowded around a table sometimes.
Probably better for space anyway.
It's better viewing that way, but they could certainly write their comments and stick them on the table or on the board, whichever they prefer. You know, some people, like at one of the open houses we had, people would give comment and I'd say, well, please write that down, and they wouldn't. So I'm writing down your comments and sticking it here and there. So we all have to do a good job in the informal conversation, trying to record comments the best we can.
That's a really good point, Jeff.
And if it were on the table, do you separate into 5 sections? Is that?
Yeah, there'd be 5 different areas, correct?
Yeah. How does that sound to everybody? Casey? Good? Lindsay?
Thumbs up.
All right. John?
Yep.
Andrew?
Agreed.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for doing that. And then the other publicity would be being on our sites everywhere. And
Yes, we've already coordinated with Megan coordinated with the communications department. We have the flyer that's already been listed as a news item, and they're going to be starting the social media pushes. They have whole timing things of when to do that type of thing, including tagging in the schools. They're also looking at, we have purchased certain radio spots that we have, so hopefully they can get it on as a radio spot. I also, like I did with the survey, I have a bunch of email addresses from people who are interested in the open space and rec plan, people who are interested in local comprehensive plan. So I sent out a little blurb going, you're interested in planning, maybe you're interested in this too, and come to this meeting. So I have a lot of that, and we also send it out to the staffers of various boards and committees, because you guys are the most engaged people in town, and often are very curious about other things that are going on. We're putting the flyers up around town, the libraries, post offices, and bus stations. So we have a whole kind of publicity thing that we're going to be working on. Time is getting down to the crunch. I think the biggest one is, I know that you had done this before with the town administrator's office, and I'm not really clear on what was actually done, but getting the flyer mailed out to a certain
They gave me enough envelopes
segment
for the list that I had with stickers. I'd have to have the assessor redo stickers for the areas across the street, all the streets across. All the streets across from the site, as well as any houses in the immediate area facing Higgins Kroll, but then Chickadee people, and also the next area that I can't remember. Lumberjack, thank you. In that area too. Yeah. And it was something like 110, I think I sent out, or 115.
Did you coordinate directly with the assessors, or did you?
Yeah. Well, I think I asked, and somebody had it done for me.
Yeah, I'm out tomorrow, but I think Megan has volunteered to help get those labels done and help get that mailing out, because that's the sooner rather than later. Monday's a holiday and all of those things.
If you want, I can bring you, Megan, the envelope that I have of what they did before.
Sure. If you have the list of the addresses, we can take care of it.
Yeah. Okay. I'll drop that off tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
And I'll do them if there's no one to do them in town. It's envelopes. They give me enough envelopes to send. Obviously the sticker to wear. I think they were Town of Yarmouth on the return.
It's probably the town administrator's office. It wasn't
right. It was the town administrator's office. Yeah. So I'd be happy to help or do whatever, because I think it's important that we keep in touch with the neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's important to get them mailed out tomorrow if possible, since next week there's a holiday. And so I was planning on getting it started in the morning. I have a 10 o'clock meeting, but I'll have that hour and a half or so in the morning if you wanted to come in first thing, or
I can do that. Yeah,
okay,
I can do that. Yeah.
Perfect.
And if you want help, let me know.
Sure. I will always have help stuffing envelopes.
Oh, it's fun. But I thought, this was the what will be put in the mailer. So
yeah,
what was in front of you. All right. we'll see how we sped through that. That was good.
That was good.
So while Jeff is here, do we want a project schedule update and next steps?
Well, I think yeah.
It's we're going to hopefully no snow, and we'll be doing it February 25th. If
Right.
the snow date is March 11th.
Yes.
March 11th. And our next regular meeting is March 12th. And another regular meeting is April 9th. So we have to think in terms of being done, in terms of we're going to need discussions on those two meetings. And at some point, there'll be a date for us to present finally to the select board.
I think a big amount of work, and I know that BSC group has been compiling it as they've gone along, is basically that report, what your conclusions and your recommendations and kind of how you got to where you are, including identifying things that you're still maybe not 100% on, but just so that you can summarize and document your process and where you got where you were.
And we had a brief question I posed as to whether with that report, if there's something that we want to say, in terms of the committee, be happy to hear any of the thoughts, because I think it's important, I'm sure it will be in the report, but the events can happen. If you design the interior well enough, you can do events, and that's important. But that would be in the report. But if there's other things that you can think of that we want to say, maybe we could share that so it's included in the report, or maybe a separate letter, whatever you think about. But and we are going to have a discussion again about whether we like the names, the alternate whatever, but that would be for the final. And
what was your suggestion?
I don't know. I listened to Tracy. John, I think, talked about, and I think Casey did too. Kind of disappointed that was her take. But the reality is, there's so much time still to find out other things, that maybe we just say till school decides or whatever on that plan, and that's what they have to work with. It doesn't mean, though, that you couldn't talk about building a sports facility. If 6 and 7 comes up quickly with stuff, it doesn't mean you couldn't do that. We're going to talk about the field study and still, but so there's still flexibility. I don't want you to all get depressed, but there are a lot of good things we've done, and so we're helping get there. That's all. And we've been successful doing it so far, using part of the process. So anyway, we're going to go back to updates and discussions. And there is the ME Small feasibility study. I'm forgetting what we included in the packet. So
everything that was included in the select board packets, the PowerPoint and the letter.
So it was the superintendent's letter. Has anybody been following the ME Small Building Committee?
I read the letter. I don't have an opinion on it, but it seemed like there's a lot of open-ended questions in there.
By the superintendent, or what was directed to him at the December?
Yes.
At the December
meeting. Letter that was included in that.
Oh, okay. And did something strike you in particular? Come on, Andrew.
I feel like you have something you want to say. You're trying to get Andrew to say it.
I really.
It seemed like there was a lot of balls in the air, and they confirmed that. What do you do with the students when you move them? Where do they go? I mean, there's a lot of unanswered questions in there. So I think that's for the board, or
feasibility study.
Yeah, to work it out.
Yeah.
But it's for us another unknown.
I think my take on it is I think there's a lot of people that are not in education that are looking at numbers on a piece of paper, making assumptions that are not realistic in the education world, whether that be financial, state law, whatever else.
Being a regional district is more involved than what the town has to do. Their budgets are sealed once, it gets to a certain point. In fact, if the legislature goes longer than June 30th, there's a mystery as to really what they end up getting money, in terms of the state. So there are lots of things that are very particular to the regional district that a lot of people aren't aware of. But anyway, I think he was just trying to, I thought it was a good letter as far as it went, but it also needs solutions, I think is what you're suggesting. And that's an ongoing thing. And in particular, 914 days in terms of where they're going to be, where they consider maybe moving, adding on to Station Ave or at the Station Ave school. Nobody knows. And that's what we've had to deal with, but it is interesting to follow. At some point, I'd probably suggest some things to them to consider, but I didn't go to today's meeting because life is too complicated right now. But I think they were just talking about the actual agreement today, because it finally got presented to them. And now the legal people will be looking at the agreement to see if they can sign the agreement. So the other discussion, the Yarmouth Recreation Athletic Field Study. How do you all feel about what was done? Or what you saw in the study, I should say. Let me also just remind you that a good portion of it is, I think we couldn't download it. So that was what I saw. Did anyone else see that? You couldn't download it?
Download it too.
Huh?
No, I couldn't get it on my computer.
Right.
It's too big.
I don't know what the message was, but
it was like we couldn't print it. So in other words, we can't print it. We could only view it in the.
Well, you should be able to print it with a PDF file.
Yeah. Well, I didn't try because there was a message saying something, but we'll try it again. But I was going to say what was posted in our own website was the July paper, and this is our paper, our particular ones that are printed in the study. So if you wanted to look, and it's especially it's one that's
in the meeting packet from the select board meeting. That last meeting has the study in it too.
Oh, I could download that one, huh? Yeah. Okay. So if everybody heard that, even though that might say it in not that you can't download, you could try. And if not, you can go to the February 3rd select board meeting, and in their packet would be the same study. So you could download it there. All right. But obviously the main crunch was that there are enough fields to handle the recreation programs. The question is whether what's the condition and whether to improve them, to change some of their location or add to the location, to make Sandy Pond the main. Yeah, the same. And when both Steves came to our meeting, I think it was September, October, somewhere in there, they indicated their particular favorite was the B plan, and which was putting 4. Right now there's only 1. So they wanted to add 3 and make 4 altogether. And that was about, and 1 softball field in that plan. Actually, just double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's it. My memory.
I think you're right.
That's it.
And of course, now you're talking by their cost estimate of 18 million. So that's this one. So, and what that would give, again, this needs to go in the plan, in my opinion, would be, this is their thing, that there would be 2 softball fields here on Sandy Pond, which would, as we know from the local economic committees, was of interest because they bring a great number of people in a September weekend or for a softball tournament, and lots of people come to this. So that needs to be added. If in fact this ends up being something that the select board picks, and it also in terms of needs to be reviewed, I guess, from our perspective as well. So I thought that was interesting. What else did they say? Anybody else have comments about what they read in the field study? Casey?
I'm actually, trying to go through some more of it right now, because when I look at the executive summary is actually not kind of with concrete recommendations. It highlights a lot of the problems. But yes, there's obviously a huge need for synthetic turf, but that is quite expensive. And did you say when you kind of started this that there are enough fields for rec?
That's what the study showed, hours-wise, in terms of use, and they picked, as Steve said during the meeting, they picked the busiest year, which was last year in terms of rental income. So, yeah, they.
Yeah, because I look at it, I also see that yes, there might be enough like today, but because of demographic shifts and population growth, right, in a few years, absolutely, we're not going to have enough. So, but it seems a lot of this does kind of hinge on the solution that might come out of Mattacheese, and it would be kind of hand in glove to their approach going forward. But
right.
I also didn't find it like super clear about what is precisely the ask, for such a big study.
Right. Well, again, I go back to what we were told, which was the more upsetting thing to me, was that Flax Pond wasn't considered, that it was to be just studying fields. And I saw in their plan, they want to put pickleball fields over at Mattacheese. I mean, that's a no on the outside to me. You don't do that. And so there are lots of things that, if you look at the study that pre-exists on Flax Pond, and I think Dorcas was asking about this, was that there needed to be, that it was recommended in another study that a quadrangle field was a great space over at Flax Pond, because they can't use the water department land anymore for the softball field, so that got taken up in a way. But Steve did say that he didn't think that was needed. But there are 2 fields over on Peter Homer Park already. So in terms of growth, if you ended up doing the 4 fields, I think they were also thinking that could be income for the town in terms of their normal recreation. It's not to say you don't put fields over at Mattacheese either, but that would be theirs. So they would be especially nice fields. It would be have additional parking, all of those kinds of things that they were talking about. So I think that's a interesting. It doesn't mean, I know that it's 97 over, it's meant for recreation.
Yes, it's been used for recreation for forever, so it's already nice.
Right. So, but maybe a third party doing recreation would still be legitimate for
I
that.
have no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe that's what you determine, because that may give an answer to providing more soccer fields, and that the developer would be willing to build, just be over at Sandy Pond, and then still have access to other fields to rent. So anyway, I that's all going to be worked out by the select board. So I just think there's a lot of things going on that aren't definitive. So, Lindsay, any comments?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Andrew?
No.
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 John?
I think Bob summed it up at the meeting, that it's a great first step. It shows what we have, what we need, but we have no money.
Yeah.
I think it puts us in a good position with, if we decide to partner with someone on a sports facility, we know what the needs of the town are. So we can be in a position to advocate for that either on that site or somewhere else off the site, for either mitigation funding or whatever way that kind of comes together, depending on who we're partnering.
Right. Yeah. And also the desire of the town and the select board in terms of income, I assume, right? So the next one was short-term rental study. So I think Kathy said she'd be willing just to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, the Affordable Housing Trust has been working with UMass Donahue Institute on looking at short-term rentals and seeing if they're having any type of impact on seasonal housing. They've developed their study. They're going to be presenting to the select board at the February 24th meeting. Planning board's also going to be there. Right now, our short-term rental zoning bylaw has a sunset clause of this November. So we need to do something before then. We're hoping that this study will help inform what those changes might be needed, if anything, or maybe we're just eliminating the sunset clause, or maybe we're looking at something about limiting, corporate ownership, whatever. There's a bunch of different strategies that have been included in there. But we're really interested in hearing what the select board have to say about it.
Any questions for Kathy?
No.
No. All right.
Income's pretty good on that. I was surprised.
Yep. And 75% goes to our wastewater program.
Yeah.
And any other boards or committees? How about the finance committee, John? Anything going on there?
I would just make one comment that was made directly about Mattacheese during our budget meetings, is that when Jeff Colby presented to the finance committee, every budget's brutally tight right now. And he made a general comment that, stuff may not be as well maintained as it should be. And when we asked him if there were any specifics, it was Mattacheese. And that he, made the general comment that it's becoming a very expensive building to maintain. So the exact details of that, I don't know. And that's for Jeff and his team to figure out, but that's pretty telling.
Yeah. Well, isn't that a good thing that we've done in terms of help that process out?
I think a little nervous because of the timeline of it. So,
in what respect?
Well, the timeline of doing something with that building and having to upkeep it.
Well, at the point that it's taken down, however much it might cost, or in terms of everything that needs to be done for it to be taken down.
Just not allowing recreation to use it for whatever reason. I mean,
but that would free up $200,000 for taking care of maybe parks, So
yeah, I don't know. I said at the first meeting we had as a mock, there's a huge recreation concern with that building.
Yeah.
We're trying to balance that with, I work with rec very closely as well as DPW. We're trying to balance the costs needed to keep the building open, but also the need for those recreational programs. So we're working on that. We also, just so people know, I mentioned this at the select board meeting, we are currently doing the study with Vertex on the hazardous materials.
That's great.
That's happening now. They're basically done with the work that was needed inside. They have to wait for the weather on any of the outside work. So.
Yeah. Do you know whether it exceeded the Vertex reports that were given to the school?
I do not know that. No. They'll be putting, now that they'll start, compiling all the information and putting together their own report, but we won't have that until all the work's done.
Okay. I still have snow around my house. I don't know about the rest of you. And so we're moving, pretty much done everything other, we have no minutes finished for today. But I've assured Kathy we're going to do that. And Kathy's given me 3 sets of minutes that I'll have a chance to review by hopefully the next meeting, and make any suggestions if I think any changes are needed, but that we'd get them by, I hope, the next meeting. And in terms of number 10, member questions or comments or other topics not reasonably anticipated. Anybody have anything? Lindsay?
I don't think so. I'm assuming an email will come out that will explain what time you want us to be at the public comment, right? Isn't that the next meeting? I'm sorry, my brain doesn't work on medicine.
Yes.
Okay.
It's
Great.
at 6 o'clock, Lindsay.
Thank
so,
you.
Getting there ahead of, at least 15 minutes ahead of time would be great.
Splendid. Okay. But I don't need to come with anything else, just
your smiling face.
Presence. Okay. Thanks.
And your knowledge.
And your knowledge that comes with it.
Casey? Anything?
Wait.
John?
I will not be able to attend the committee meeting due to finance.
Okay. Andrew?
I might have missed this, but do we know what that solar contract is, time frame or?
No,
Okay.
I have information on the roof, the one on the roof, but I do not have information on the one on the ground.
Who has that?
I'm trying to track it down.
Yeah.
Where does the money go from the Mattacheese?
I don't know.
To the school.
I would assume.
So the school budgeted for next year. The school budgeted $500,000 for solar and investment revenue. I don't know what the breakdown is.
Well,
Between two, but that's
there's some on Station Ave too.
So.
Yeah. But the only thing else, I've been asked to write a no more than 3-page 2025 description of our committee. And so I did do that, and I've asked Lindsay to take a look at it, which she just sent me. And she does a great job of writing. I think she's terrific at writing. So I haven't had a chance, Lindsay, to fully look at it, and but I will do so and then get back to you. But thank you for doing that. And so at the point that I have this and scanned in when it's finished, I'll send you all a copy so that you'll have it.
It's for the annual report.
Yeah, the town report. Yeah.
Okay.
Could I have a motion to adjourn? Unless anybody else has something. I didn't ask Andrew, did I?
Yeah, I was just curious on the life expectancy of the solar field. No.
Oh, on the one on the ground, I don't know. I don't have any information on that. I believe the one on the roof was, it's like 2031 or 2032. I don't know if that's the life expectancy. That's when the contract, I think.
Okay. It's a lease thing. Yeah.
So
Okay.
how does that work? So
Um,
with the buildings coming down eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd have to talk with our legal counsel and how we'd
Do
have
that.
to negotiate that, or just if we'd have to wait till the lease ends, or, those are all discussions that would have
Oh
to
my God.
be,
Till 31.
yeah.
Any other questions?
That's it.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, I have to do by roll call. Lindsay,
Yes.
Casey,
Yes.
John,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
and Sharon, aye. Thank
Joe,
you.
it's Joe.
Joe, are you here? Joe. Hi, Joe.
So you.
I'm here. Yes.
Well, Joe, thank you for coming.
I'm sorry. I got in about 6:15. I'll listen to that discussion but I didn't hear anything before that. So I don't know what happened there. But the answer is yes. You adjourn. If you want to, Sharon. If you want, you and I can talk about it afterwards.
Well, it was about the next time we meet is February 25th for the
Correct. I
public
got that.
meeting,
Yeah.
and it's at 6 p.m. You got that?
Yeah.
And we reviewed the February 3rd meeting
The selectmen.
in terms of what your general opinion was. If you wanted to share that, or do you want to just
Are you
go?
adjourned or are you not adjourned?
Well, I didn't want to. I didn't know Joe had joined,
Yeah.
and
I think
so,
he said he'd like to talk to you separately.
We can talk afterwards, Sharon, if everyone wants to leave. I just missed that first section of the meeting. So,
Okay.
I voted yes to adjourn.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. Thank you all.
Night.
Night.
Bye.
Bye.